welcome to English Study Hour. Today we are talking about adjectives, specifically about comparative forms of adjectives. But first of all, let's remember what exactly adjective means. Adjective is a word which explains a noun. It gives more information about each specific noun. It describes the noun. It provides more details about the noun. For example, what a beautiful day. A beautiful day. Beautiful in this sentence is an adjective, and it explains a noun, which is day. Another example, what an expensive sofa. Expensive is an adjective, and it gives information about this specific sofa. It's an expensive sofa. So we understand that this sofa costs a lot of money. An adjective expensive gives information about a noun sofa. Or another example, Lily is a bright kid. The word bright is an adjective, and this adjective explains the word kid, child. So Lily is a smart, a bright child. We give information about Lily. We give details about this child. We explain what kind of child Lily is. She's a bright kid, a smart one. Now let's come specifically to our topic. And our topic for today is comparative forms of adjectives. What does it mean to use comparative forms? We use comparative forms of adjectives when we want to see the differences or similarities between the objects, situations, actions, or experiences. We compare two objects, we compare two situations, we use comparative forms for that. Comparative forms of adjectives. The comparative forms of adjectives consist of two groups. The first one is comparative, and another one is superlative. Let's talk about both of these groups in detail. The first group, comparative forms of adjectives, can be also split into two subgroups: the short adjectives forms and the forms for the long adjectives. Firstly, comparative form for the short adjectives is built up with the help of adding a suffix er. For example, happy, happier, big, bigger, small, smaller, cheap, cheaper. Here we need to remember about spelling rules when writing these words. When the adjective finishes in y, for example, happy or merry, in this case, we will change y into I, plus add the suffix er. So, merry, merrier, happy, happier, busy, busier. The second subgroup, long adjectives. To build comparative form of long adjectives, we need to add the word more before this adjective. For example, expensive, more expensive. Beautiful, more beautiful. Dangerous, more dangerous. Now we are coming to the second group, superlative forms of adjectives. Here, in this group, we would like to show that the object, situation, or an action is special or different from the others. And for this, we use superlative forms of adjectives. So we are showing that this object, this situation, this noun is standing out, is very, very special, is just one of the kind, only one. And again, here we have two subgroups, short and long adjective forms. So to build up superlative forms of short adjectives, we need to add suffix est at the end of this adjective. But the very important thing is that before this adjective, we need to place an article the to show that it's the only one object, the only one situation, a very, very special thing for us. For example, big, the biggest, cold, the coldest, small, the smallest, cheap, the cheapest. The second group, long adjectives. Here we have to add the word the most before the adjective itself. For example, dangerous, the most dangerous, beautiful, the most beautiful, expensive, the most expensive. The important thing is never to forget about article the before superlative forms. Whether we are talking about short or long adjectives, this is very, very important because article the shows that this noun is very, very special, is one of a kind. Please remember to put article the before superlative forms of the adjectives. Now it's time to talk about irregular forms of adjectives. Some adjectives are formed differently. Some forms of comparison are formed differently. And here we need to remember 5 very important adjectives and their forms. The first one, good, comparative form, better, and superlative form, the best. Number 2, bad, comparative form, worse, and the superlative form, the worst. The third one, far, comparative form, further or farther. Superlative form, the furthest or the farthest. Number 4, little, comparative form, less, superlative form, the least. Number 5, many or much, comparative form, more, and superlative form, the most. There are also a couple of additional forms which we use to show similarities between two things or objects. And these forms are the following: as, the same as, similar to, like, or just like. For example, the prices in this city are as high as the ones in London. In this sentence, we compare the prices in this city and the prices in London, and we say that they are the same, exactly the same. To show it, we use construction as. Let's look at one more example using the same construction. For example, Mary is as bored as I am. In this sentence, we see that there are two people, Mary and me, and we are both bored. And Mary is as bored as I am. So it means that we are equally bored. Another construction is the same as. For example, Annie is wearing exactly the same dress as she wore last year for the opening ceremony. In this sentence, we have the form the same as, which means similarity, which means that the dress is the same. Another example is, to go to Spain by car, we will use the same way as you have used before. If we would like to talk about the differences between two objects, two situations, two people in this case, we need to use the other forms, specifically the words unlike, the word combination different from or contrary to. For example, Nellie, unlike her brother, studies very hard. The second one, my new office is very different from the one I have had before. Sometimes we can also use double comparison in a sentence. This means that two things, two objects are changing at the same time, simultaneously. So we can see the change in the first object and at the same time in the second object as well. For example, the more I learn about this project, the easier it seems to me. In this sentence, we see that there are two situations. I am learning something and the project feels easier to me. And these two things are happening at the same time, simultaneously. So the more I learn, the easier the project becomes. Another example. The more you are ready to pay, the better apartment you get. In this sentence, we see that these two situations are connected. If you pay more money, of course, you get something better in terms of an apartment. So the more you pay, the better apartment you get. Sometimes we use repeated comparative adjective to show the change, to show a continuous change of the situation. For example, the weather is getting worse and worse. It means that the weather is changing. Yeah, it's getting worse and worse. So it was bad before, but now it's even worse and getting even worse. And the last one is unequal comparison. When we are talking about the things which are not the same at all, then we can use the form not as. For example, she is not as good at math as my brother said. So my brother mentioned that she is perfect at math, but now I see no, she's actually not. So she's not as good as my brother mentioned. This is the end of the video. If you found it useful, like, subscribe, and comment. See you soon!